Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the playing of
the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast
with your host, the 2023 IBWAA Podcast Host of the Year, Jana, and her big brother, Jeff. Welcome back to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. Oh man, it feels like it's been a long time since our last episode, even though it was just last week.
Yeah, it does. It seems like a lot has happened with MLB. Not just that the Dodgers won the World Series, but
which
a lot.
I'm sure you tell yourself that every single day, don't you? Just as a reminder.
There's sometimes I have to pinch myself.
That the Dodgers ruin baseball, apparently.
No, there's other things we'll be talking about that maybe
that
baseball.
Might be bigger indications that there's some ruination going on in baseball, but it's not because of that or any other team. Well, mostly. I guess you could look at it and see, maybe they are. Maybe the Pirates are ruining baseball. I don't know. But anyway, it has seemed like that. And while this isn't the last episode, it's the next to last episode. So of the season, before we go, what is that now? Do we call it break or are we on hiatus?
I guess we're on hiatus, but if there are any, we get a wild hair or there's some news that comes out, we may break that hiatus and do a episode.
Right, because you never know once we get to, because it is the meeting season now.
Yes.
There's the GM meetings, and then those are going on or have been going on this last week here, and then you've got owners meetings going on next week, and then you have winter meetings in December.
Right.
And typically everything that happens in the GM meetings is setting up what will probably come to fruition in the winter meetings. We'll talk about some things that can work there, qualifying offers, opt-outs. When we welcome back something we haven't had for about a little over a month in Around Baseball. We'll be back. And we will talk about that. We've got, some manager openings or fillings to talk about, and of course it's awards week, and we will hit all of that when we get to Around Baseball. Before we start off this episode, remember you can find us and suggest any other topics or share your own opinion on what you think is going on in baseball. By hitting us up on Twitter or Blue Sky at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A.
Or on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB with the A.
And of course, you can check out our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Hit the Fanatics link like Jana did recently to get herself some World Series gear. And I have yet to get any of mine because I was told that one person in the house here would really like something that says back to back.
Ooh.
And that has not yet been available on Fanatics.
Right. I haven't seen that yet, but that doesn't mean. So I've got one thing. I did put, you could put a player's name. You could put your name, I guess, and your number if you have one. But I went with Yamamoto because I felt that was fitting. World Series on the front, MVP on the back.
Mostly it's because she wanted to wear the number 18 and feel like she was 18 again.
That's right. Yes.
So,
but yeah, that's a good thing. I want to see that back to back. I didn't.
I have seen some, but they're not through the official channels. There's others that have done it, but most of them are a little overdone.
Yeah.
So I'm still watching for that little back to back action. For that. So remember to catch that at BB at siblingrivalrybb.com and hit the Fanatics link to get that gear. All right, let's just hop right to it. Here's potentially what's ruining baseball. And I don't even think it's really ruining it, but it could. And what MLB had to say about it. But first, let's start with this. This week, two players that we've talked about before. We really hadn't heard what was going on. We knew there was an investigation going on, but two Cleveland players. The first one that was mentioned doesn't seem he seems to have been the last one involved, but the first one put on administrative leave, and that was Luis Ortiz.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a starting pitcher, young guy, 26. And then the second guy was an all-star and the predominant closer for the most part over the last few years, Emmanuel Clase, who a lot of people were hoping was going to be a Dodger.
Yeah, not
And
anymore.
he wasn't going to be anything but a Guardian unless, of course, something happens out of what's going on, which I would think's going to, but we got to wait and see what MLB is going to do. So these two guys were put on administrative leave, which means they were paid. And at first it was like through the end of August. So these things happened before the trade deadline. So Clase wasn't traded because of that. And he and Ortiz just said, well, probably by the end of August, we'll have this squared away. They ended up being on leave through the end of the season. And just recently, who was it? The U.S. attorney
Yeah,
put
the
filed
Eastern District of New
filed
York.
charges against both of these players. So let's go back. What was it that got us? What was the suspicion that led to the leave? And I want to make sure I say that every time. It was administrative leave. They're paid. There was no suspension, just put on leave. They've been getting their money. What prompted?
So there are bets that are called prop bets. So you bet on a certain, thing to happen.
Well, for
This,
instance, they do this all the time during like the Oscars.
yeah,
How many jokes about whatever the topic is? So it'd be how many political jokes will there be in the opening of this? How many times will the host mention Tom Hanks, or whatever? And if you get it right, and so the same, and prop bets, we talk about them with the Super Bowl all the time. What time will the actual kickoff be?
mm-hmm.
How long will the first kickoff be? How long will the halftime show go? All kinds of stuff like
Yeah.
that. And this has become, since betting has become a big thing in baseball. There's how many different prop bets could you probably have in a game?
Yeah, you could have a lot. How many times
from
is he
pitch
gonna
to pitch?
right? Which is what this is. These two pictures. This is what this is about. But you could also have how many times is this certain player, going to reach base? How many times is he going to, if he's
Foul off. So he's going to foul
ball,
12 times in his next at bat.
overthrow a ball.
Right.
It could be lots of different things.
Yeah, it's a myriad of.
It's crazy the amount of things. So, so that's what the suspicion was. They went back and actually they look. There's a betting group company, and they noticed an uptick in prop bets, specifically with these two pitchers. He's going to throw a ball. So they started looking at these pitchers.
And the betting activity connected to it.
Yes. So it says, the indictment says that Clase, as early as May 2023, arranged with a bettor to throw specific pitches for balls so the gambler could place prop bets and profit. And Ortiz joined the scheme in June of this year. And between the two, the gamblers won at least $450,000 wagering on their pitches, while Clase and Ortiz were given kickbacks for doing that,
I
for their
think
participation.
Ortiz was the least amount,
Mm-hmm.
and I've only seen 2 pitches mentioned for him, but he got about $12,000 for those 2 pitches. And then Clase, it appears not only was he throwing the pitches to for the players to win those, and by the way, oddly enough, we talk about ruining baseball. There is a Dodger involved in this,
He's
but
a
not in the
hero.
way that you think.
He's a hero.
Not exactly in the way you think. Yeah, in more ways than one. We'll talk about him coming up. But Clase, it appears from the stories that I've read, and everything I've read um, that got the most information has been through the writings on the on the Athletic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but he seems to me that he also bet on himself a few of those.
Yeah, bet on himself, and then was in touch with certain these gamblers in the in the dugout.
Yeah, he was using his phone to text or message somehow.
Mm-hmm.
They only call him Better One, is
Yeah.
how he's mentioned in the stories. And there may have been others, but this is the one that they said he contacted the most and even met with in person.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting that he obviously, Class A, if he's been doing it as long since 2023, and he was like, well, nobody's caught me yet. So pretty much he was doing it out in the open.
Yeah,
And
it's
even they were betting on the type of pitches he would throw. So he'd throw a cutter, throw a slider, and then of course, throw a ball or
and a lot of these bets were it's going to be a ball on a pitch less than 94 miles an hour or something like that.
yeah.
And then what you would see Clase do is throw it in the dirt
Mm-hmm.
or throw it so far outside that it would be a ball. This is where, for the most part, it worked, with the exception of they would do parlays.
Yeah.
And they would do, so yeah, if you're not sure what a parlay bet is, it's, you know, tacking on other bets on there. So this is going to happen, and then this will happen. I know, like, I've heard it mostly in football where they do like a 3-team parlay where you pick 3 teams to win or you pick them to do a
Mm.
certain thing, score a certain amount of points, the over unders or whatever. Same thing with this. I'm going to bet on this pitch to be whatever, and then this pitch. And if you hit all 4 or 3, whatever it is, you win more money.
Right. Yeah. The parlays would give you more opportunity for bigger winnings.
So,
Yeah.
normally it would all work out, except for a game between the Guardians and the Dodgers. And so this guy had picked his parlay and was doing okay first couple times. I think he had hit the first 3 and lost it on the 4th or something like that, because Andy Pages, and we saw him do this many times, especially in the second part of the season,
Yes.
swung at a ball that was so far out of the strike zone, he would have had to be almost standing in the other batter's box to hit it, or on top of the plate to have been in a position to hit the ball.
Well, to hit it,
That's
and
how
then
far.
Yeah, it was that far, and then also it was in the dirt. Like it was
Right.
so it was
So
it was so far and in the dirt, and he swung at it, and they called it a strike
and
because he swung at it.
which ruined the parlay
Yes.
for that. Now, I guess things like that could happen, but that wasn't. I wondered if if they called Andy and if he got death threats for that. Because honestly, a few pitchers and a few players have come out and said, and in fact, one manager called it out. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but um, as far as the manager goes, but a few players, Ryan Stanek from the Astros, and he may be somewhere else now, but that's where I remember him being. Um, was had said that he had received many death threats because he threw a pitch um, that lost somebody money, and it wasn't necessarily a pitch that somebody hit a home run off of them and they lost the game. It could have been a pitch like this. Oh, I said it was going to be a ball at 85 miles an hour, and you threw a strike at 98. And people have been, and we know that people get crazy about things that they start uh, threatening people's lives for the silliest of things, at least over social media, or if you can hide behind a message, they'll do it. So there's a lot of players that have said, "Hey, yeah, I've had these kind of things happen." Um, so Clase was working with them. This with a better or two or more, because it would go to one guy and then he'd let everybody else know, and then this thing that they're this company monitoring all this saw it and reported it. So now here's these guys that, number one, I don't know, as far as Ortiz is concerned, he made under $1 million a year, but I think he still made around 800,000, and he got 12,000. I know,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. If I got $12,000 on top of whatever I make, I'd be happy with 12 more thousand. But Class A makes somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million a year and is in a position, or was in a position, to make so much more, and proved himself through most of the bottom, or the last part of the season, except for a pitch here or a pitch there.
Right.
Um, that Why would you give up all of that for? It's like robbing a convenience store and walking away. Killing somebody at a convenience store, and all you got was $120.
Right. Well, and they had the money sent to the Dominican Republic because they said that it was for repairs on the country house. And so I wonder if they thought, well, if we have it sent to the Dominican Republic, then, it's another country. They're not going to really find out about it. I could also see where, maybe they were like, oh, there's extra money. We send it home. We can help. I don't know if that was their
Right.
thinking, but they could, do things for their family, and in addition, still have their salary. So they get
Right.
extra money.
Right.
Um, I really don't know the thought process for Clase, especially because he's always been one of the top relievers in baseball,
He's not really
and
classy.
he's not classy. Class.
No, he's been a
Um,
top reliever. He's got, and
why would you throw it
honestly,
away?
I think that he probably looked at it as, what's one pitch? Because
Right.
think about the arguments. If you saw, or any basic part of the stories of the Black Sox of 1919, um, to whatever extent you can uh, that the that, like, the movie 8 Men Out had correct information. There was a lot to be said about that. Like Buck Weaver said, he didn't take any money. and he performed. But Joe Jackson was essentially the MVP on the losing team with the way that he hit and all that. And when you look at it from that standpoint, you're like, how does, in this case, how does, there was like throw a game is one thing, but when you end up losing the whole series, and then these guys are like thinking it's only one pitch. What does it matter? I still look like I played great. And Clase's numbers for the year to when he stopped pitching, especially after kind of a bad start, he was back to normal. And
Right.
if he got traded, would have made a big difference to somebody. But now he's taken and he's ruined his career. I mean, they were charged with wire fraud conspiracy, honest services wire fraud conspiracy, and conspiracy to influence sporting events by bribery and money laundering conspiracy related to a scheme to predetermine certain pitches that netted bettors hundreds of thousands in winning. So the honest services thing is that his honest services are his pitching. He wasn't honest in how he did that.
Yeah.
So the MLB has said that they hope to administer their justice by spring training. I don't know. I know that the word is the Guardians are planning their upcoming season without figuring in those two pitchers. I would think that you'd want to get it done earlier because otherwise, doesn't that have an effect on the Guardians and what they might be able to do if you wait until February to decide? Then they didn't get a chance to go out and replace those two guys necessarily because they still have to keep in account that whoever they get, if those guys are surely going to have some sort of a suspension. But is it going to be a lifetime suspension? Is it going to be half a season? Who knows?
Well, and would the Guardians want to keep them at this point, right? So, I mean, I would be, if I was in the front office, I think I would just write, they're on the books, but they're in a different category because they haven't been playing anyway. So they have to figure out, okay, we're going to need relievers. And we're going to need and looking at Clase, the same caliber, or try to get, that same caliber of pitcher that he was, I say is, but I mean, he was
right.
Ortiz. He surrendered like right away. But I think that's because he was here in the country. And then Clase, though, he had already was in the Dominican Republic. He flew back and this is the thing he knew it was going to happen, but he flew back to New York City and then was arrested in the airport by FBI.
Right. They were waiting for him when he got off.
Yeah.
So here's what, and by the way, I think it's been kind of funny. Everybody's been, when these reports come out, somebody on Twitter will always put underneath to there. This report brought to you by FanDuel.
Yeah.
Bet 360 and Bet MGM or whatever. And of course, we're not to be outdone there. We have back alley betting when you absolutely positively have to bet on the down low. Back alley betting has brought you all of this. Now, the MLB, because, hey, they're on top of this stuff, they said, and walking the tightrope with their partners like FanDuel, like all these betting companies, DraftKings and all of that. they've got to watch where they go, I guess, not to upset these companies that they're partnering with. Uh, Said there needs to be, or there is, they instituted a $200 maximum on all prop bets. So because in their mind that takes away um, a player's um, motivation to do it. So instead of if you got $5,000 for throwing one pitch, now you could get about $50 because because they can only bet up to 200 times. I mean $200. So
Yeah.
I'm not real sure what that does.
I don't think it does anything. I think you need to get rid of prop bets. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, now the prop bets, the MLB says up $200, but it can't be part of a parlay. So that takes that away. But people are still going to bet. If you are a gambler, you're going to bet, whether it's $50, because they'd be like, that's an easy $50,
It is. It's
or
still,
that's an easy
that's
$100 or whatever it may be. And I think that they just need to, they're so entrenched, MLB is, with gambling, but then they have this rule: the players can't gamble, but the networks are, there's FanDuel Network, who's the DraftKings. There's on MLB Network, MLB, it's, they'll tell you, whoever,
well,
the ups, the whatever. I don't know all the terms because I'm not a gambler, but the overs, unders,
yeah,
those
they'll give you
things.
the line on a game, the over
Yeah.
under, and there's shows right on these networks
Mm-hmm.
that that they stop and it all they do is talk about the gambling part of it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you can bet at the ballpark on games.
yeah, there's some where they have it, yeah, right there at the ballpark. They have a
Mm-hmm.
window, or or even talk about during the game. Lock into to whoever.com, or open
Mm-hmm.
up the DraftKings app, and right up to before the pitch is thrown, you could make a bet.
Yeah, and they
Uh,
give you enticements because it's like, you set up an account, and new accounts, you get so much money, to place
yeah,
the
with one
bet.
$5 bet, you could get up to $500 in credits to bet.
Right, right.
You know,
And so, yeah, I mean, if you, if even if you're casual better, I think the parlays they seem to be, I guess, not as, I don't want to say innocent, but they seem to be like, yeah, bet on this, yeah, these three teams will win, or whatever. They're not innocent bets, but that's kind of how they're portrayed, because it's like, oh, it's not a lot of money. But apparently it was, because this one, $450,000 for this one guy, that's a lot.
well, they were doing it often enough that it was building up, and it's a sure thing. The guy who's going to throw it's already told you when and how, and you bet right before he throws it, and he throws it in the dirt to make sure. I'm sure he probably changed it up a little bit after Pajas swung and blew that one, that um, to make sure he always put it in a place that they can't get to.
Well, I wondered too, because they said Clase has been doing this, or, allegedly, since 2023. He brought Ortiz in this season.
Right.
And so I wonder if, because those two pitchers, same team, and then that's when they were seeing the uptick in these type of pitches. So maybe Clase made a mistake by getting a partner.
Well, maybe. And the other
But I
thing
don't
is
know.
that it's like anything, you get greedy, or the more you get away with something, the more brash you tend to be,
Well,
you
I
know.
think you're more brash. You get like a high from it, adrenaline.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
Yeah,
I did it. Nobody knows,
nobody's
and
not,
especially for
none the
the
wiser.
2 years,
Yeah.
apparently with Class A, which I mean, he's an all-star. Um, he's, it just is crazy that you really are throwing away your career. I don't see any good outcome for them.
No, I don't think so either. And if ever you were going to do a you know a lifetime ban, this isn't even now. Both of them have denied doing anything,
Right.
but there's too many things, text specifically between Class A and this better, and then between Class A and Ortiz. Ortiz was working through Class A, so
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how it all shakes out, but you know, MLB has to do a better job of this. If they think this $200 limit on a parlay is a fix, it's not. It's not even a band-aid.
no, and somebody will take whatever money that they can get for it. And just think, if you throw the right pitches at the right times, even at $200, you could get, especially with relievers who pitch multiple times in a week, could say, okay, I'm going to give you $1,000 if you throw this many pitches, and it has to
Yeah.
be these pitches.
Well, and I mean, we're seeing it before this. I mean, we heard, the rumors. Oh, this is what seems to be going on with these two pitchers. But just what was last month, NBA players who faking injuries, so they were out of the
Yeah.
game for they weren't in two games. They didn't play two games because that was the bet. Whatever it was. And so we're seeing it obviously across all sports, but I don't know. I think it's another, stain. I mean, I look at, you look at Pete Rose, but Pete Rose was the gambler.
Oh yeah. But and out in the open with a lot of his gambling, because
Right.
for years he was at the horse track. As soon as he got done, in training days,
Yeah. Spring
they'd
training.
go to
He
horse
was
track,
there. Mm-hmm.
and he was betting a lot of things. And it was later on that, and as far as they know, that it became betting on baseball.
Yeah.
And just, and this is it. Always, these things are always going to come out. And, in spite of that happening, look what happened to, the Guardians were able to make the playoffs in spite of
Mm-hmm.
those things. They didn't
Right.
need those two guys, so they can plan to be without them. But it does put a stain on the game, and it makes you wonder when you see pitches that seem like it was, were thrown uh, a certain way, or if it doesn't seem like it's going through the pattern, then it makes you wonder: were there other pitchers that were doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Are there other players who did something that missed a certain ball that made it through in the infield, or it seemed like it was a catch that this guy always made, but he hesitated a step and then said, "Oh, I just misplayed the ball," and
Mm-hmm.
and that was really to let it fall because there was a prop bet on it. The question then too, though, is how are they communicating those things? Because these prop bets are very specific. It's not that he's going to throw a pitch sometime in the game that's bad. It's like the first pitch to this batter will be this. I mean, they're
Mm-hmm.
that specific.
Right.
So, the only way to really know when that's going to happen is a crystal ball, or the pitcher having your own pitch com, basically,
Mm-hmm.
where the pitcher texts you and says, "First batter up, I'm going to do this." And Clase never knows when he's going to be in the game, whereas Ortiz did because he was a starter.
Yeah.
Clase gets in, knows what he's going to do. Okay, first pitch out, I'm going to do this. He's already texting these guys. He already knows. So, yeah. So yeah, that's going to be something that we'll to see how this plays out and what MLB ultimately does to these two players, and we'll see if other players, seem to, pop up in these schemes.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
Time to put a wrap on our two favorite teams' seasons. Let's start off in the ravine with the Dodgers. Not a very successful season. No, it was an extremely successful. Actually, when you look at it, I think that the reason why you every day you got a little sign up that says Dodgers won the World Series.
I do. I have
so
a
when you wake up,
on my
you're
phone.
like 50 first dates where at the end they're doing the video every day. Watch this before you come outside.
Well, right.
And you have to watch that video every day as if it never happened before, because you still can't believe that this team, who had so many problems, and it seemed to carry into the playoffs a little bit, at least the World Series, not so much the three prior series, but the World Series, that they were able to win it.
I think back to all the episodes that, I was saying, I don't even know if they deserve to be in the postseason, because there were times where I felt like they're going to get to the postseason and it's going to be a repeat of, I think 2019 was coming to mind when they played the Nationals. There were other, seasons, but that one came to mind because it's like, okay, you get there, but you really didn't do a lot during the season to get, to be, I didn't say to deserve to be there, but they did enough. And starting pitching was huge for the Dodgers this season, particularly after the All-Star break, going in all the way through the postseason. Because you think about it, Tyler Glasnow was on the IL, Blake Snell was on the IL. The starting rotation was on the IL. And then the year before, you didn't have a starting rotation that was great. But you relied on the bullpen. And then this year was a flip. Got to rely on the rotation because you don't know what's coming out of the bullpen. And I shouldn't say this, but it made me think, Tanner Scott, when you think, were there other players that were just throwing pitches? Right. Was he involved? I think he was just bad this year.
Well, we don't know if that abscess thing that he had maybe plays a part, but who knows?
And I would like to, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, just as someone who's had an abscess. They're uncomfortable and you never know, like sometimes they'll go away and then they pop back up. And so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that and say that maybe that was the issue. And, we all know how the Dodgers are when it comes to kind of keeping things on the down low as far as injuries. And we can see it as fans, like there's something not right with this guy. And then we find out, oh, he had hip surgery. And, Tommy Edman is having, obviously we knew he had ankle problems during the season, postseason, and he just recently had ankle surgery. So good for him that he'll be able to get that fixed. But I will say there are times I think about when they won the World Series, when Freddie Freeman caught that ball, the look, I think you just need to look at Freddie Freeman's face, because I don't know that Freddie Freeman thought that they were going to win that game, because it was so crazy. But yeah, they had a great season. And I think a lot of naysayers of Dave Roberts, but again, he made the right moves. We've talked about this before. Sometimes as a manager, you got to go with your gut. And he did for game 6 and 7, put Miguel Rojas in there. who knew that was going to be the catalyst for, to help kind of turn things around, at least maybe mindset around, because you had the guy who's always the cheerleader has a handshake with every player that's different. So yeah, I do. I do sometimes have to pinch myself, say, really? They won back to back. And that's the other thing, back to back. I heard a lot of people say, well, I'm going to root for the Blue Jays because, they haven't won in 32 years. And I'm like, yeah, but the Dodgers, they could win back to back. And that's been a long time too. That's 25 years. And that's harder. That's a lot harder to do. So, but I think Blake Snell, obviously, I think Blake Snell, Tyler Glass now, they had in their champagne beer drenched celebration said, if you can't beat them, you join them. And because they were both, Tampa Bay Rays, and they joined the Dodgers. And Blake Snell, every time I see him, he's somewhere with that world. I'm like, did he take the World Series trophy to his house? What has he done? Does he drive around with it in his car? Because he's everywhere. Kings games, Lakers games, everywhere. But yeah, so going forward, though, for the off season, we do know that the Dodgers signed Max Muncy, or picked up his option, not signed him, and also Alex Vesia. I would love to see them sign Miguel Rojas. He says this will be his last season. He's going to retire. I think he should retire as a Dodger. And
but Shohei told him he wanted to play with him for 10 more years.
Yeah, so maybe he changed his mind and
he might not
retire.
And could you imagine, though, for Miggy Rowe, if you're him, I wouldn't even bother having my I wouldn't even bother having my agent go in and talk with Friedman and Gomes. I just have Shohei go in there.
Yeah, he's his new de facto agent for that.
Right? Yeah, because
right.
who carries more, more punch with them than Shohei.
I think he stays, and that's it. We do know that there's also Kike Hernandez. I know a lot of fans want to keep him. I think he plays better when he's a Dodger, obviously in the postseason as well. He is Mr. Postseason. But Justin Dean was DFA'd, and he got picked up by the Giants, which I think I like Justin Dean, and he made big contributions to the team, but he'll get a chance to play in San Francisco. At least that's my hope in the outfield there. Ben Rortvedt, I was hoping they'd keep him, but they're all in on Dalton Rushing. So he was picked up by the Reds. And I didn't know this, but I guess Gavin Lux is getting married in this off season, and Ben Rortvedt is going to be an usher. So now they're teammates.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who knew? I didn't know there was that connection there.
I didn't either till I read it somewhere, probably on Twitter. Tony Gonsolin is gone, the Cat Man. And that one, I really like Tony Gonsolin, but unfortunately for Gonsolin, he just had too many injuries. And he never was able to, I don't think, to really show what kind of pitcher he
I think the
is.
Dodgers feel like his window closed, or was closing. And I think they felt the same thing about Dustin May. Not that these guys didn't have upside, and maybe potentially a few good, more starts or more innings in them, but just not here.
Yeah.
And
yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. Kirby Yates is gone. I mean, he was a 1 year. I don't see him coming back. So I know that I think Dodgers will look for another reliever. You do have Evan Phillips, who started his throwing program after his Tommy John surgery, but I don't know when he'll be back. But he's a big piece. Another one I'd love to see come back, and hope he's healthy, is Brustar Gratterall, Bazooka. He's always been, good, but again, injury plagued. So, what does that mean for the bullpen? Clayton Kershaw has retired. So, what does that mean for the rotation?
Nothing.
Is Roki Sasaki going to continue to be a reliever? I think yes. I think he, or do you think he's
I
going to
think
be
they're
a
going
starter?
to. I think they're going to try him starting again and see
Yeah,
what
but
happens.
yeah, I mean, I guess you can see what happens, and then if it doesn't work, you put him back in the bullpen, and you know what you're going to get. So yeah, I would like to see him just stay in the bullpen. But what about
I
Emmett
mean, that could
Sheehan?
be, and I think if they go out like always happens this time of year, every top free agent is coming to the Dodgers.
Oh, right.
Because
Everybody
they
is
can.
associated with them.
And then the other thing that's been a huge thing is in the trade market. It's been put out there since like the minute they could that Tarek Skubal is going to be traded, um, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because the Tigers still have chances, I guess. I don't know what they're doing unless it's just a money thing. And it is his final season before. It's his walk year. So that always comes up. But it's like if the Dodgers get somebody like Tarek Skubal, I would say they would probably relook at it and say, Roki, maybe you are a bullpen piece. It just depends.
Well, I mean, I
I
guess in spring training they can, start working back with him as a starter, and then in spring training figure it out, and then when the season rolls around, then they can say, like you said, it's like, no, you are a reliever. That's more your fit.
mm-hmm.
But what about like Emmett Sheehan? He was a starter, but he seems to be more of a middle reliever.
I think
Um,
they would be good to do that. Look at him in that middle relief spot because otherwise, I see Emmett Sheehan being in the same group as Gonsolin and May. And you got to look
mhm.
too. Gavin Stone
Oh, right.
is going to be heading back now. He's just coming off of the surgeries, his shoulder surgery, and that we don't know, how that's going to work. It may take him a little time to build up, but is he going to be? That's somebody that Emmett Sheehan has to pitch better than. River
Right.
Ryan, who underwent, who we only saw a little bit. He underwent Tommy John surgery, but he's supposed to have high upside as well. So we'll see if that comes to play. And these guys may not be in a position uh, to beat out these guys coming back, or to beat out um, somebody who is, a reliever that they pick up. I'm not a reliever, but if they were to trade for Tarek Skubal, which I don't think they will, but if
No.
they did, um, the thing too is that one thing that's going to affect this offseason is the cloud of the upcoming CBA, and this collective bargaining agreement. Everybody's talking that, and the reason why people thought that the Dodgers were ruining baseball was coming down to there needs to be a salary cap. Some people say a floor and a cap, but they, I think that, and we can talk about this coming up in around baseball, but I think some of these players that are opting out are looking to see if they can get a better deal now. So if there is a salary cap down the road, they can already be locked into a contract that would be grandfathered into that and
Mhm.
avoid and make as much money as possible before they're stuck with a salary cap and everybody having to um, reset um, their money expectations because of that.
Yeah. I think if we go back and look at, I mentioned Dalton Rushing, he's going to be the primary backup catcher. But Brandon Gomes has also said, well, maybe he could get some more at bats. He could play first base, giving Freddie Freeman some more days off. But how is that going to go over with Freddie Freeman? Because he doesn't like to have, he likes to play. So I don't know how
Right.
well that will that will go over.
Well,
I
that
have.
or playing him in the outfield.
Mm-hmm.
But they saw how when you've got people that aren't, they had some, not great, they had issues in the outfield. And I don't know if trying to put Dalton Rushing out there as well to get him, you want him to get more at bats, but is that going to make a difference? Is he going to be able to hit? I don't know. I get why they let Rotvert go,
Yeah.
but on the other side of it, and you know what, we're all sentimental about certain players. We want to see them hold on to certain
Oh yeah, you
folks.
want the same lineup, right?
So, but
For
eventually
some kind, some part. I mean,
Freddie's
maybe.
getting older. Who's going
Yeah.
to replace him?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, you have to start looking at that.
Right.
Or is it going to be a free agent that eventually becomes that guy? There's
Well,
the different pieces that you know.
well, right. I mean, the Dodgers do have one of the older lineups in. I don't know if it's the oldest lineup in MLB, but it's up there. And we do have to look at, first base, but then you have, I've heard Stephen Kwan's name. And his name is one that has come up many times throughout different seasons, so it's nothing new. But we did have you have Andy in the Andy Pajes in center field. They moved Teoscar to right, which really he should be in left. So then that's where it's like, oh, Kyle Tucker, he could be, and so his name has been. But as you mentioned, all of the free agents, are pretty much linked to Edwin Diaz has been linked to the
Well, yeah, no,
Dodgers.
you'd almost think that was already a done deal.
Devin
That
Williams has been linked to the Dodgers.
well, I wonder if because you have um, Tanner Scott, and you got to give him a shot to see if he can make up for a down year. What's his name? Robert Suarez of the Padres, a former teammate. He's available. Do you get him?
Mm-hmm.
Do you go after Edwin Diaz and move Tanner Scott, to a setup spot? There's so many things there, and they've got the money to do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of players are going to want to go there because there is a chance, just like Alex Call said when he got the call about going to the Dodgers, we're going to the World Series, or I'm going to the World Series.
Yeah, and
And he
wasn't
had no
wrong.
prospect of that before. And a lot of
Right.
these guys are going to look at it and go, well, there's a chance to go to the World Series.
Yeah.
And if you're Edwin Diaz, it's not going to happen with the Mets because it just hasn't, no matter how good they've been. And, so all these guys, there's rumors that Michael Conforto is going to get re-signed by the Dodgers
Yeah, I
for
heard
$5
that.
million instead of 17. But it's like, and
Right.
at $5 million, maybe they'll do it. But he's not even. I don't even think he's a great depth piece.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I heard that too, and I was like, really? Okay.
So
I mean, a lot of people, have said there was a picture of him holding the World Series trophy on the plane, and it said, "Oh, this is like a group project," but that the one member of the group project that didn't participate. I mean,
Well,
and
and
then
that
no,
became a big thing. Even Kike, he
yeah,
said, it was a group project, and all I did was bring some pencils.
yeah. Well, he did a little bit more more
More. Well, he
than
did
that.
more than Michael Conforto, that's for sure.
Yeah. I
Um,
think the
eh,
Dodgers, I think they're going to look for, I think definitely bullpen, especially if they're going to pivot, which is what it sounds like. I just looked at some other little things. Pivot Sasaki back to a starter. I think that's their thinking. That's what's going to happen. So then they've got to find somebody that's going to be a high leverage. I think they're still in, obviously, on Tanner Scott. One, because of his contract. I don't know if they could move him, if they would trade him, but not as a closer. So I think they're going to be looking for that closer. And then there's just those pieces like that are in the bullpen, but what are they going to do? Like Gratterall, where is he? What has happened to him? Is he?
the question is does he become somebody that just fades off?
Well, that's what it kind of seems,
And
you know?
so that's a question. Is what happens this year? We'll see. I think if he gets injured again, he's done.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think that's what happened basically with Tony Gonsolin. I mean, he pitched and then he had Tommy John surgery and then he came back and then he was injured and then we had another surgery. Yeah, it's just not sustainable. You can't just keep them when you need those pieces. Um, but infield, I think looks good for now. Max Muncy, like I said, his option was picked up, which is good. We want Max as a Dodger, but he too is getting older. So who comes in, plays third? Um, you know, there's a lot of questions for the Dodgers, but I think their main is, again, more than anything, will be pitching, and then I maybe outfield, an outfield piece.
pitching and outfield. I think they could do another starter if they wanted to, but it's got to be a high end starter,
Yeah,
somebody that you know nobody that they can pay for. And then maybe even a lot of talk about like Devin Williams, who's a free agent, could come in and be a middle reliever.
hmm
Um, I don't think he's going to be a closer again. Um, I don't know about Edwin Diaz. I think there's probably others that I might consider. And I think they should even go back and look at, they had so much success with getting relievers that were not big dollar relievers,
right.
um, that and turning them into better relievers. So we got that. And when you look at it, their team health so far hasn't been bad. Their big guys had issues. Obviously, Mookie started off the season with that illness that he had, and that didn't help him. But he wasn't out injured for long periods of time. Nor was Freddie, Shohei. Not till the end of the season did we see something happen with Will Smith. Um, you know, Max was out, so I think you have to have a solid backup for third base, more than Kike,
Yeah.
and somebody that you're putting in a position to maybe take over that spot,
Well, and
or
I was thinking about that too, of eventually, yeah, taking over that spot. And you do have, these third basemen. Speaking of Kike, he's listed as a third baseman in this free agent that I'm looking at. He's really a utility player. Um, but, looking at this list, it's like, okay, well, there's two. There's a Japanese player, and then it looks like there's a Korean player, but I don't know anything about them. Of course, there's Alex Bregman, but I don't think Alex Bregman would ever be a Dodger just because he was a
well, and
Astro.
all
But
you're going to do then is if you went out to get him And
Yeah.
I think he's one that opted out to set up for post, whatever's coming up, if
Mm-hmm.
there's a lockout or whatever, but so that he's got a contract in place that's bigger than what he has now. And I don't see him coming in there because he's only a couple of years behind Max in age.
Exactly.
And why give him a 5 or 6 year, because he's looking probably for about a 6 year contract from what I keep hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And why would you do that?
Yeah.
Just
I
and
don't
then
see
have to
that
pay him
happening.
more than you could just go with Max year to year, and at $10 million, you got to steal with what
Yeah. And
Max
then look
brings.
at who's in the farm, who's on the farm, playing third base or
Right.
in the
And what do you have
infield
coming
that.
up? And what could
Mm-hmm.
you get to help build up there? You never know what's going to happen as far as that goes. And one day, I would say if you were going to go out and try to get somebody, which I'm sure they're not going to give him up, I'd go get Ernie Clement uh, to be my replacement third baseman. The way he's
Yeah.
played
Mm-hmm.
recently,
Yeah.
he may fall apart this next season. We don't know. But I would look at um, somebody that's younger and upside. If it comes out of the farm, great. If it's a signing like Max that he gets released by some other team that just doesn't seem to understand what they have there, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ways to do that. The question is who's out there, and right now, I think that the core that they have is that's who's going to three-peat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you need to make changes for depth and strengthen the bullpen, and um, and then definitely figure out how the outfield's going to work,
Right.
and getting a solid center fielder, um, moving, putting Pajes in right and Teo in left,
Mm-hmm.
and having a couple of figuring that out. I'm not even sure about um, going after uh, like Kyle Tucker. Um, he'd be a great right fielder. Question is then, what do you do? Pajes stay in center,
Yeah.
and
Well.
then and Pajes. Don't get me wrong. He played well,
Mm-hmm.
made a hero catch
Yeah.
in the World Series, and for the first part of the season, he hit pretty well.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, but you also have, if you're looking for where in that scenario, you move Pajes because he has played right, um, and you're looking at center fielders, Cody Bellinger's name comes up again because not that I think he's going to be a Dodger. I don't think so, but because he was a Dodger, he was a fan favorite in LA. Oh, we got to get Cody. I wouldn't mind seeing Harrison Harrison Bader. It would be, he has some injuries, but has been injury prone, but is a good defensive player and can hit. Um, I would not want Trent Grisham, but Trent Grisham is a good defender.
no, he
So
is, and if he can do what he did in New York, hitting wise this last season, it's I mean, uh, his time aside from being in the evil empires of San Diego and New York,
yeah,
um, I don't see him fitting in there. I feel like that's a Michael Conforto signing.
yeah,
That
yeah.
because Michael Conforto played well in the outfield, he just couldn't
Mm-hmm.
hit, and we don't
Yeah,
know that one season does not a career make
no,
necessarily as far as that goes. And he didn't he didn't hit well in San Diego. He didn't hit well his first year in New York. He had a great year now. That's not enough to move you up into to the next echelon of players.
right.
If he had been competing with, of course, if he'd been competing with Aaron Judge for and had that like Mantle Maris thing going on.
Oh, right. Then it'd be
But,
different.
but the Yankees would want to hold on to him then.
Right. Yeah,
So,
you wouldn't want
you
to
know,
lose that.
and
Yeah, I think the Dodgers, obviously, there's pieces that they need to add, but I think the core group is what's, as you mentioned, and I believe this too, is if what they want to do is three-peat, which would be awesome. It's gonna be that core group of guys because they've done it. They played together. That's the glue.
well, and with this, with two of them, they won titles in other places and came back and won titles and came to the Dodgers and won more titles.
Right. And mention that when I came, since I've been a Dodger,
Right. They've
and it's
had,
not a lie,
no, I mean, you figure Mookie got his in 2018, 2020, and now 24 and 25.
Yeah.
Freddie Freeman won with the Braves, and then, which was what, 21? And then,
Yeah, I think 21. I think it's also, you're hearing a lot of people like, the Dodgers, they took Mookie Betts and they took Freddie Freeman. It's like, no, the Red Sox traded Mookie Betts and the Braves didn't sign Freddie Freeman. So,
right, no, they went and got Matt Olson
yeah.
while
And
Freddie thought that
so,
they were still negotiating. They
mhm,
signed Matt Olson.
yeah,
I'm sorry, the Braves gave up on
yeah,
Freddie,
they did.
and
And
the Red Sox did a salary dump, and they didn't want to pay. They didn't want to. They didn't even have to pay that salary yet, but they knew it was
mhm,
coming.
yeah.
And now I hear, just as an aside, that the Red Sox, looking for a middle of the order bat, are looking at this guy who plays in San Francisco, looking to maybe that he might be a good solution. Rafael Devers as a potential.
That's
Uh,
crazy. They would want him back. Now I've heard also, you mentioned Rafael Devers. Just I know we're talking about Dodgers, but National League. Um, Pete Alonso could go to the Giants, play for space. That would open up Devers just to be the DH, which I
hmm.
think is what he wants to be.
Yeah, I don't
He
think
didn't
he
want to
was.
be a first
Well,
baseman.
he wanted to be a third baseman, but
Well, right, but I think if he could just hit, he would.
I think what happens is once you realize that all you got to do is hit, I think your day gets so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
At first, you're like, I want to be out there and I want to play, and I think maybe no, I'll save that,
Okay.
but I just got to remember to do it when the time comes. Um, anyway, so Dodgers, I think they're in a position, and if they're going to do it, and the idea that there's going to be potentially this lockout, which the Dodgers will play differently. A lot of teams will play differently than, say, the Angels and others. Then I think they could go out there and spend a little money, maybe do a couple of shorter term contracts, and if they can get people to come, or I don't think that there's anything wrong with them going after Kyle Tucker. Although I think Kyle Tucker's got a space where, based on his numbers, would be better for him. And we'll talk about that coming up. But I think that they can get almost whoever they want, and I think they should. Um, you're not getting rid of Freddie, Mookie, obviously not Shohei. You're not getting rid of Will Smith, Max Muncy. I think you've got a lot of options with Tommy Edman and Hai-Sung Kim, who, when he got to Korea, basically apologized for not having a better season. He
Yeah.
apologized to Korea.
Right, the whole country. I didn't play very well.
You know,
And in the meantime, he's apologizing, and then there's a guy who is like stalking him at the airport and wherever he goes, saying, "Hey, your dad owes me money. You need to pay it," which is against the law. You can't do that. In Korea, you can't like go after the other people to pay another person's debt,
Well,
but
you know
he's got
why,
that
right?
going on too.
Is
No,
that
I don't know the whole backstory.
there's a story that, and I don't know if it's the same guy that was connected before, but when Haesung Kim first signed his contract with KBO,
Hmm.
he he got about like $92,000, I think is what it came out. I don't know how much won that was, but
Yeah.
about $92,000, and he gave that to his dad to pay off debts. But apparently, they're saying his dad owes a lot more.
Oh,
Thus,
so they're
but
thinking now you're in the MLB, you
yeah, you're
need to
making a
give.
lot more money. At a
Yeah.
minimum, you're making a lot more than $92,000.
Poor
Or,
guy.
yeah,
He's
he's like
apologizing that he didn't play well and has
to
his
his
dad's.
countrymen, and now he's, and this guy's like coming after him to pay his dad's debts. And I'm sure that he has no problem doing that, but it's like, why? No. I mean, he would do it for his dad, but who knows? Maybe we need to watch that though, because you probably heard the rumors, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but Michael Jordan he left basketball supposedly because he was gambling, and they said, "Why don't you take some time away?" And he went and played baseball, but his
Oh,
father was murdered out on a North Carolina road, and
that's
the talk
right.
is that it was connected with
His
gambling
gambling.
debts, whether it was his or whether it was Michael's or it was a combination, and they wanted Michael to pay up.
Wow. Ooh,
So
international
we need to
intrigue.
watch that. But I think he's in a position, if they give him a shot, to be the everyday second baseman. So that's one guy that you can look at as a filler, but that's an open spot. And part of the reason why they sent Gavin Lux to Cincinnati. Speaking of which, if they could get Hunter Green,
Oh yeah,
bring him back home, but I don't know. Eric Davis and Darryl Strawberry both came to the Dodgers,
they didn't do
and
so
neither
good.
one of them back home, and it didn't work out well. But I think Hunter Green's a little different. But I wouldn't mind if they went and got Tarek Skubal. That would be okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
Who knows what to make out of what's happening in Anaheim these days? Uh, in fact, the biggest thing happening in Anaheim, number one, we know they didn't have a great season.
Yeah.
The entire coaching staff was let go. We knew, we talked about this before, that Ray Montgomery was not coming back. They did not exercise the option with Washington, so Wash gone. One more year for Perry, and they hired Kurt Suzuki to be the manager. Since then, there's been a couple of different moves, that coaching staff moves, because they don't really have the Angels have nobody got a qualifying offer. They didn't really have anybody that they needed to, uh, and I mean they still have time, but there's nobody that they're non-tendering at this point that I've seen. The way that the team goes, the players that they have, I think that, and this is what I said I was going to hold off on. I think that Mike Trout, towards the end of the season, when he started hitting again, finally hit 400, and then it was 405 before 404 before the season was over, and it was only a
Mm-hmm.
couple of games. But I wonder if he didn't just realize, I'm not going to play the field anymore, and accepted his DH role, and it cleared his head. I think this year he wants to come back and see if he can play fully. But if he doesn't, he just needs to be the DH and just accept it,
Yeah.
embrace the role.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of other things going on in Anaheim. Now, going back to the coaching, got Kurt Suzuki. Now it's like, why has he only got a year? Because that's all that the GM has left. So if he does a great job, and Perry does a good job help building, a better team, they may get extended. But a lot of people are looking at this potential lockout. It's almost the way it's written about and talked about. It's a foregone conclusion that December
Yeah.
1st,
Mhm.
2026,
That's it.
we're done.
Lights
And
go
who
out.
knows? For how long? Who knows?
Right.
And it's probably going to happen.
Which I think I think they should do whatever they can not to have that happen, because look at how many people, 51 million people watched Game 7 worldwide. Just Game 7. People didn't really watch baseball, but now they're they're getting into baseball, and then for them to come back, be excited for a new season, and then have a lockout.
I met somebody just a couple weeks ago who is a transplant to Southern California, said they jumped on the Dodgers bandwagon. They didn't really care about baseball before, but now they're into it and they're learning more about it. And maybe that person's even listening
Maybe.
now, because I did tell them about the podcast, and they said
I hope
that they
so.
would try to remember to listen. Now, maybe they're not, but if they are, hey,
I think you should get their phone if you see them again, and put an alarm every time.
I'm just going to get on and subscribe them through their
Yes.
podcast platform. Remember, it's on all the podcast
It's on
platforms.
all of it.
And where were we at? We're talking about that baseball has a tendency to shoot itself in the foot that way.
Yes, they do.
So more people went to games. All this, looks good for baseball, and then they're going to Manfred it up. That's just the way it is.
That's it.
So the Angels do seem to be making some better choices. They were able to get Mike Maddox, pitching coach,
Yeah.
20 years worth of a pitching coach,
Mhm.
big brother to Greg Maddox.
And he's a good pitching coach. I'm also as excited to see Max Stassi.
Max Stassi just came in as the catching coach recently.
Yep.
So they got him.
Awesome.
They got Maddox away from Texas. You got Max Stassi coming in. Plus, you have Kurt Suzuki, who was a good defensive catcher as well, and a world champion with those same 2019 Nationals
That's
that
right.
you were just talking about. People are wondering if that's going to help get Rendon to play.
I don't know.
No.
I mean, you have Adam Eaton, I think, is the
former Angel as well. First base and outfield consultant, first base coach. So they're building up, and they took a couple of guys from the minor leagues. That one's going to be the third base coach, and the other's the infield coach, I think. But they both moved up, or one of them's the bench coach. Trying to remember the guy that they said was the bench coach.
So John Gibbons is the bench coach.
Right. And now John Gibbons was manager of the Blue Jays, took him to playoffs a couple of different years in the past. So you've got a first-time manager. You've got an experienced bench coach. And then, you're building the rest of this team as guys who are maybe younger side, but they played the game. And that we can see what'll happen. You've got guys and these guys that are coming up from AAA and AA are both managers who worked in some form at some time with both with a lot of these young guys. With Zetto and Shanuel and Christian Moore. So we'll see if those guys being there. I'm not real sure about these guys. Everybody's Angels Twitter is a Twitter because they're like, oh, these are incredible hires, and
Well,
it's
I
like,
will say,
don't know.
I would say Adam Eaton, because when he was with the Angels, he was kind of player coach, because he was out there helping Joe Adele. He was helping those younger guys. So I think I could think he's a good addition.
Well,
I
I
think,
don't have a
and
problem with him.
right.
My issue is more um with the two guys that were in um the minors, um the minor league managers.
Mm,
Um I'm not saying that these guys aren't um won't be good,
yeah,
because they might, but what my issue is that these guys, when they talk about um, these guys being there and being part of the development, I've not seen any great development out of the minor leaguers.
that's
The
true.
the guys that they're talking about spent such a little bit of time. Sean Ewell spent a month in the minors
Hmm.
before he came up. Zeto was a few more months. And so and even Christian Moore, who spent more time. The pitching staffs, the pitchers, these guys that they've had some moments, but I haven't seen anything huge out of Caden Dana or Sam Aldegari. They had moments. So I don't necessarily believe in those guys being great additions necessarily, um, just because I don't see a lot of the minor leagues. They have no depth, and you would think that they would have had more depth coming up out of the minors, um, that they could have called on, and they didn't. The guys that they ended up using for depth pieces were guys that either were down there because they're career minor leaguers, or people like the Dodgers will do. They'll bring somebody in to a minor league contract, use them, and then they DFA them um, as soon as they don't need them anymore. Um, so, I mean,
I
you
would
tell
like to
me. I don't know.
see they don't have a hitting coach yet.
No,
So I
that'll
think they're
be
still waiting on that.
right.
So that'll be interesting to me to see who they, because that could be an improvement,
Well,
hopefully.
that's definitely one that we're looking for to see. The other guys that I was talking about, Keith Johnson, is going to be the third base coach, and he was the AAA manager
Mm-hmm.
there at Salt Lake. And then
Yeah.
Rocket City, the Trash Pandas manager, Andy um, Schatzley, is going to be infield coach. And, uh, you know, that's fine. I don't have a problem with these guys, but I want to see what they can do. Because I don't really have a lot to go off of based on um, what I've seen in the minors. I think that I mentioned earlier that there was a place for certain players. There's certain places where they hit well and their numbers are better. Um, Kyle Tucker he owns. We always talk about Ellie De La Cruz says that Los Angeles is his home. He owns Los Angeles.
Yeah, he was born
Um,
there.
right. Kyle Tucker owns Angel Stadium. He hits well there. He's hit a lot of home runs there. He hits for a high average there. If he wanted to take and build up, and I know the problem that's coming up is what if there is um, what if there is a lockout? But he could come to the Angels, sign for say 3 seasons, build up big numbers, and he's only 29, so he's still right in the prime, and it would be helpful. Because when you look at the Angels, you would think, you've got some young players that are showing promise. You have two guys who are two veterans that, in times of their career, were the best at their position. Mike Trout being the first one, and Anthony Rendon at one time. So when you look at it, you would think, man, they got an all-star third baseman and a World Series champion third baseman, and they've got an up-and-coming potential all-star at shortstop. Word is that they put money. They offered that there was an offer put out for Gleyber Torres this season,
Yeah.
and that he turned it down because he feels like Detroit would be a better place to be if they'll re-sign him. But
Right.
there's other, Polanco out of Seattle is available. He might be a good person to pick
Well,
up.
I've heard Suarez, Eugenio Suarez, could be a good fit for the Angels at third base.
Third base would be all right. And I
Yeah,
think
you
they
need a
need
third
something
baseman.
like that. But the question is, it's just like looking at Bregman. The money that it might cost for Suarez, certainly for Bregman, puts you in a position of paying somebody that both these guys in their 30s, Suarez older than Bregman. Are you going to replace Rendon with a guy who's the same age?
Yeah, that doesn't seem to make much sense to
And how much
to do
money are
that.
you going to have to pay him comparatively? Now, obviously, you get him, if you can get him to come in for $15 million, then that's a steal comparatively. I'm fine with him coming in, but I just don't see them paying a lot of money for somebody like that. They need to get somebody where, the question is, do they bring back Luis Rengifo, who is a free agent?
Yeah.
They need another outfielder. They need to find a way to get rid of Jorge Soler. They need one or two starting pitchers. I would like to see them even go back and get Andrew Chafin back for the bullpen.
Yeah, I think for the Angels, it's going to be pitching, more pitching, and then I think for obviously hitting, on base percentage, being
They
able to
need
get on base
they need
more.
depth.
Yeah, definitely depth.
And
I mean, if you're looking at the starting pitchers, Kyle Hendricks retired,
right.
so but you have so, and Tyler Anderson is a free agent. So, and I don't think that they're going
see them going to
to
re-sign him.
re-sign him. But you have Dylan Cease, Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, Chris Bassett, but he's 37. Michael King. I think Imanaga.
Imanaga might be good to go with Yusei
Mm-hmm.
Kikuchi and then Jose Soriano. Reed Detmers is supposed to go given another shot at starting after he had. So we were just talking about Roki Sasaki, same
Mm-hmm.
thing here in that Will Reed Detmers, is he really a better piece in the bullpen, or can he be a starter? And then
I think they should bring is Kenley Jansen, um,
he's a free agent,
free agent
and
as well. And
he
I
said he wants to come back.
Yeah, and I think he would be. I think that they should bring him back as one. I think he's a good piece for the bullpen. I mean, he's he had some off, but for the most part, he was on. But also the
He only
veteran
had maybe 2 or 3 bad outings in the whole
exactly.
season.
So that's what I'm saying. Mostly on, but a good veteran presence,
Right.
especially because you have younger. I have heard that the Blue Jays may be interested in Taylor Ward. But I don't know what the Blue Jays want or what they would send, and they probably would just send prospects. to
Probably.
the Angels, and I don't know that would really be a good deal.
Well, the guy that I think that they could get the most return for is, and of course, this is the point that now, what is it? Now you're leaving when all I want you to do is stay,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and that's Joe Adell.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
a
I mean,
guy
he
that they could,
really turned.
but the
Yeah.
problem, my problem with it is I really don't believe Perry knows how to get good the value for Joe
Yeah, I
or
think.
Taylor Ward
Well,
for
I
that
think
matter.
that's maybe. I think he has that they can fleece him. The other teams could, you know, be like, "Hey, we want this guy," and then they tell him what they want, and he doesn't. I don't think he's not. He's not a good GM, so he doesn't have all that knowledge to say, they're pulling a fast one on you.
Right.
Yeah.
And he takes and he looks at the numbers and only numbers,
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, this looks good in numbers wise, but
but
when we
that's
we
not.
put it in, the guy doesn't have a head for it.
I mean,
He's
you
not
could
got a
have
baseball
Walker.
brain.
No, he doesn't. Walker Bueller,
Eh, maybe. I
Dustin
just don't
May.
know.
They could-
Dustin May, I think that the Angels could consider that.
I think so too. I think
More
Dustin May
so
could be a
than many others. I think that he would be an okay
Justin
addition there.
Verlander.
Um, well,
I
compared to some, if I had to pick between Tyler Anderson and
yeah,
Justin Verlander, I'm going with Justin Verlander
yeah, me
because they're
too.
veteran presence again. He's
Yeah,
40. He's going to be what, 41 or 42,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you know
40. He's actually 43.
43, and then
Um.
but he would never be able to bring his wife because all the young guys would be like,
Oh,
how do I
yeah.
get a supermodel?
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and but there's so many things they could do. What I don't see happening is I really, as much as I say like Kyle Tucker or even Suarez, I don't see, because there's another thing that has been brought up with Artie and this potential lockout is
Mm.
Artie is a 1 year deal for the managers and the coaching staff, and one more for the GM, and then he'll have to deal with the players. It will be locked out, so it won't matter. But if he doesn't spend that much money and it locks out, he doesn't have to spend very much more to. So they're probably going to be looking for 1 year deals or one and an option, and then
Yeah,
they
so
don't
you're
have to
gonna
pick up
be
anybody's options.
yeah, so you're looking at probably those, not always, but those older
So
players, which isn't necessarily a bad thing,
no,
but knowing how Artie Moreno operates, and on top of that, they have the lawsuit against them, by
I was
Tyler
going to bring
Scat,
that
the
up, but
family. That plays a part in the amount of money. Once, he really doesn't like to spend money anyway. And if
no, but
he's
I think
giving 1 year deals, it seems like everyone gets a 1 year deal. A new guys.
right, because that way, but I think that sets up for the potential lockout less
Hmm.
so than these other issues that we can bring up. Because when you mentioned through that list, in my head, two names popped out. Number one, Framber Valdez.
Hmm.
He rarely pitched poorly against the Angels,
Yeah.
and he's overall been a good pitcher
Oh yeah.
across the board.
He's
And then the
probably
second
with.
one,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say, with, if you look at WAR, he's second. Like, and look at free agents, so Dylan Cease and then Fromber Valdez.
See, Dylan Cease would be okay, but I think Fromber is more consistent game to game. Dylan Cease
Oh yeah, he's not.
can fall off of a cliff one game and
Hmm.
be
Magnificent.
Cy Young the next.
Yeah.
Um, and so, and I guess overall, if he can be more Cy and less laying at the bottom of a cliff, then then that works. But here's where I heard is Framber Valdez, and then go get somebody like Chris Bassett. And he can be the Kyle Hendricks
Mm-hmm.
of this season, because Kyle Hendricks had a pretty decent season overall.
Yeah, he did.
And was a good veteran presence. Chris Bassett's coming off of playing in a World Series. He's been in the playoffs more times than the Angels have been in the last 10 years, 11 years. You pick up something like that, and then you pick up somebody there, and maybe even another starter, because Jose Soriano was good on the road, but not great at home. We don't know if Reed Detmers can become a starter again. Yusei Kikuchi is Yusei Kikuchi, period.
Yeah.
Maybe you get Shota if he's willing to come there.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, Shota's being released or not, the option not being picked up doesn't mean that he can't re-sign in Chicago.
Right.
They just don't want to pay the money that they were about to pay him. So, there's those things. I even heard that Chicago's potentially looking at trading Kodai Senga, and maybe if Artie wants to do like he always does, which is try to mirror and overshadow
The Dodgers.
the Dodgers, he could get Kodai
Yeah, it was from the
Senga.
Mets, right?
Kodai Senga. No, I was thinking about somebody else. Yeah, Kodai Senga
Okay.
from the Mets. You're right. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking the Cubs were looking at what's his name? Their right fielder.
Oh, Seiya Suzuki.
Seiya Suzuki. Yeah, no, I didn't hear his name. It was Kodai. But they could get him, Shota, then have Yusei Kikuchi, and they would have their 3 Japanese players.
Yeah.
And let's see, then they just need a couple of Korean players, and they're in there.
And they're in.
So here's where, so not only do I think that Artie's playing the lockout game, and he's not going to do very much because he doesn't want to have, especially with the coaching staff, he doesn't want to have to pay them anything if there's no games going on.
Right.
So if there's a lockout and everybody was on a 1-year deal, then he'll hold off filling those positions until right before the lockout's over. Or as long as he can anyway. I think the bigger issue is going to be how the rest of this this court case going on just down the road in Santa Ana plays out, because the Angels, they already look bad in what's come out, but they actively tried to make it look like Tyler Skaggs was barely worth having. And, he wasn't anything that we really needed. He was a 4th or 5th starter. They're the stats guy that did, and they're trying to make it look like, and the reason they're doing it is just like they do when you go to arbitration, is try to downplay their numbers so that you don't have to pay as much money. And that's what they're trying to do, is say that he would have made no more than about $30 million in his career. So even if we're going to lose, you shouldn't give them the 100 million or however much that the Skaggs are asking for.
Yeah.
And it's not true, from what I remember, is that in the year that he died, he was actually pitching better. And a lot of these pitchers these days, as they get older, tend to get better because they learn how to pitch. They can't throw 100 miles an hour every pitch. and they start learning more how to use the other pitches to be a better pitcher. And I think he would have been in that spot had he continued to build. Now, you know what? There's a lot of things that have come out that are probably true about him. And maybe he wasn't that good of a guy in some ways, and he was a great guy in other ways. But they've pretty much established that Eric Kay, who was the communications director there, was an addict and he was willing to do. I mean, Mike Trout really said more than we ever expected, and said some things that haunt me now that Eric Kay did for money. And
Yeah. Ugh.
there's and all of them do, and he was willing to do it. It's like Albert Pujols was even involved in him getting hit by a pitch off of the pitching machine. And telling him how to stand and what to do. This guy was willing to do all those things, and he was probably fun to be around. But these guys, I don't know what Albert thinks because he wasn't called uh, to testify. But Mike Trout said a lot of stuff, but every single person that's come up that was a player has all said the same thing: that Tyler Skaggs was a good guy, and pitchers were saying, even hitters were saying that he had some good stuff and he was better. The Angels come off completely scattered by some of their people, what they're saying, that people are saying, yes, there's all these things. We have all this proof that you guys all knew this. And yet they still say, no, I didn't know that. And then they're trying to put down their players. I think that players and agents are watching all that, especially agents are watching all this, and they're going to say, I don't know if you want to go there. And when the players look at it, they're going to go, I don't want to go there because what happens if something happens when I'm there? And then they're trying to tear me down. And, that's another question. After this ends, which was supposed to be in December, but looks like it might get pushed into the new year. In the end of it, will that put Artie in a position where he may just say, I need to sell the team, and maybe pressure from MLB, because now MLB is getting pulled into this because
Right.
they
Yeah.
said one of the VPs, the VP of Human Resources, potentially perjured themselves on the stand, and MLB being called in to determine whether that happened or not. So we'll see how that plays out. But all of that can all count against the the Angels.
Yeah. So I think for the Angels, we all know what they need, but the bigger question is, what will they get?
Yeah, I think that's usually the bigger problem.
Or
Nobody wants to come.
right.
If you can't even get Gleyber Torres to that, because he's holding out hope that the Tigers are going to re-sign him, which
Yeah.
that's not a bad thing. But if you're, it's like when some of these guys, when you see somebody sign with a team that is not going to do anything. If any of these guys that are linked to the Angels sign with like the Rockies or the Pirates
Yeah.
or the Marlins,
Yeah.
you're going to go, what was it that
What?
made them feel like the Rockies were a better choice
Yeah.
than the Angels? And I don't care if you're, if it's going home or not, if it's your last chance, I could get why Kyle Hendricks went there. He's from there.
Yeah.
But if I'm Paul Scanes, I'm not going to want to go there, even if that's the team I watched when I was a kid.
Right.
I think
You want
Paul
want
Scanes
to go to a
probably like
container.
Garrett Cole,
Right.
and was
I
like,
think so too.
and there's things coming out that one of his teammates said that he's heard Paul Scanes say, "I want to play for the Yankees." So the two questions: the Angels, will they shoot themselves in the foot? Probably. And will anybody want to come here? to Anaheim. That's the biggest thing, and it's all going to depend on what happens. As far as what they're putting together a nice coaching staff, but is that going to be enough to get the players they want? And will already allow it, knowing that unless he can just get 1-year deals. So the Angels are more up in the air than they should be. All right, time to get out the bullpen cart. It's been setting for a month, waiting for us to take it out for a ride, and we've got it all decked out in back-to-back championship regalia for the Dodgers. That's what happened while we were waiting, and giving it a well-deserved break from our trips around baseball. And we're going to talk about the end-of-the-year awards coming up, but let's start off with managers. So 8 managerial openings. We already talked about one of them being filled in the Angels with Kurt Suzuki. There is one of the 8 managerial openings that has not been filled as of this point, and that is the Rockies. I think a lot of that is because they also got rid of their front office staff, basically, and so waiting to get a general manager, and that would be Paul DePodesta, and who was at one time, the wonderkind. He was the 31-year-old general manager of the Dodgers, and he's also, he was a big part of what made up Jonah Hill's character in the in Moneyball. He was part of that whole experience up in Oakland before he became the Dodgers GM, and then he spent the last 10 years, doing great things for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, not great things, especially when you let Baker Mayfield go. But Baker is in a better place.
Well, just about anybody who doesn't go to Cleveland is in a better
Yeah.
place, from what I've heard. I've never been to Cleveland. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't either.
So,
I think I've been through Cleveland, but I've never stopped.
I've never been through it either.
Yeah.
Honestly. So, anyway, the so the Rockies are that'll be the only one that's left, is getting a manager for the Rockies. So let's I don't know, where should we start? I mean, there's some of them are fairly easy.
I think the Braves, let's start in Atlanta.
Okay.
Walt Weiss.
That works because Walt Weiss was a Rocky at one point in his career.
Yes, those connections, but he was already part of the coaching staff with Brian Snitker, and so it makes perfect sense. I think he was the favorite to be hired as the new manager for the Braves. And in addition, just for anybody out there, if you run really fast, they are looking for a new freeze. So, the runner that runs out there during
I don't know what
innings,
inning it is, but
I don't know either. But yes, but so you got to be you got to be physically fit. You got to be able to run fast.
Right.
So
And
that's out there.
so you can, because the freeze starts at like center field, and whoever they're racing starts out on the track at like right field, and then they're running to first base, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And the freeze rarely, I don't think he's maybe lost, but maybe once.
Yeah, not very.
It doesn't happen very often. So Walt Weiss will be the skipper, taking over for Brian Snitker in Atlanta for next season. Who's next?
Derek Shelton is going to
Oh,
be
out of the frying pan into the fire.
yeah, with the Twins, and we'll see what the Twins do. They, kind of they sold things off, and that's what I had heard. Just Byron Buxton, he has a lot of trade clause, no trade clause waivers, kind of that he may want to waive those, where he can be traded to if the Twins continue to just do a fire sale.
Yeah, I heard. I keep seeing his name and potential trades to the Dodgers. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I think that's a good idea. I mean, this is the first season that he's played that he didn't have a lot of injury issues, and he
Yeah.
still
No.
had
Yeah.
some, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just don't think. And all these trade rumors are like um, a lot of different players going for just him. Like with the Dodgers, it's like 5 or 6 people, and it's like I don't think so.
Yeah.
But
Um.
anyway, from Pittsburgh to the Twins, and the Twins are having a fire, so I just don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, he was fired way back in May,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not saying he's a bad manager. I just think if I was
Just
him, I'd
had
be
no
like,
not a lot of high hopes for that
no,
one.
yeah,
In Baltimore, you have Craig Albanese. He was a uh, coach, or as a bench coach with the Guardians, or he's part of the coaching staff. Was part of the Guardians on the last 2 seasons. So,
the associate manager.
yes. Um, his lone managerial experience came while he was in the Rays minor league system, where he was the manager for Single A short season in Hudson Valley in 2017, and then for Single A Bowling Green in 2018. So a young manager, 43. Um, so he was a former minor league catcher. He also spent some time in San Francisco working as the Giants' bullpen and catching coach.
Now, since you brought up young, he's not the youngest.
No.
We might as well go to Washington next, to the Nationals, where they replacing Davey Martinez, who was fired, and then Miguel Cairo, who was the interim manager, with Blake Butera, who comes in at 33 years old, so a full 10 years younger than the last guy that you just mentioned, uh, Alvarez. And he will be the youngest manager since the Twins hired Frank Quasilli in 1972. Um, don't know how old Frank Quasilli was, but he
He
was,
was 33 years and 27 days old in
wow.
1972.
So yeah, so this guy's he's coming in. He was the senior player development director for the Tampa Bay Rays, which that says a lot. Tampa Bay's great minor league development, um, player development, and so that says a lot. And maybe that'll help him in helping get uh, a better set of players in there. He managed for 4 minor league seasons, starting when he was 25, and compiled a 258 and 144 record, 4 first place finishes. In his final 2 seasons, he was with Low A Charleston, and that's West Virginia. Butera's teams went 170 and 82 and won league championships. So they're hoping that he can do that and help build up the Nationals uh, and make them a better team. All right. Who's next?
I think this one, Skip Shoemaker, the way
Okay.
it's spelled. only because he was with Miami, and then he was he fired from Miami, let go, and then um is now going to be the Rangers' new manager. And I think the first base coach just announced for the Rangers, Travis Jankowski. Yeah, the blonde,
Okay.
the blondie with the long hair. So he's coaching now. So that'll be interesting to see him on the given,
Yeah, that'd be
you know, like telling him
on
what
the
to do.
sidelines,
Yeah.
telling guys to go to second base.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I don't remember what happened, how he ended up out of Miami, but he was the manager of the year in 2023 there,
Yeah.
and then ended up out. And well, I don't remember if he got fired or if he had like a clause that allowed him to leave.
Yeah. I'm trying to
And because I
see.
think he left right after Kim Ing left as the GM.
Right. Yeah.
And but either way, he ended up signing to be a special assistant with Chris Young, the general manager,
Mm-hmm.
and that ended up when they decided Bochy was done that they would insert Skip Schumacher, which at one point I would have liked to have seen him, potentially as an Angels manager, but
Yeah.
oh well.
Oh well.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna do it.
N- all right. So that leaves us
With
with the hire that. Oh, actually, you know what? No, wait. I'm gonna save that one for last. San Diego.
yes.
So
So
apparently there was a 9-hour interview with Albert Pujols. 9 hours. And I'm trying to think who else interviewed for that position, but it came down to a guy who played with the Padres, um, and retired with them, and then became a special assistant, in the front office. And now he is the manager, and that is Craig Stammen.
so interesting news that just came out.
Breaking news.
Um, the so Peter Seidler
Oh, right.
was the main owner. I think it was the Seidler family, but he was the primary, and he was willing, and a lot of the money that was spent and a lot of the things that they went after were because he was like, hey, let's go do this. AJ
Hmm.
Preller, the GM, had an open bank vault
Yeah.
to go get the people that he thought that he could, to build a winner. And it appears that that bank vault has been closed. A couple things have happened, and I don't know if we've really talked about this, but Peter Seidler's wife wants to be the primary
Hmm.
and sued the brothers. They named one of the brothers, John, the primary, and they don't seem to be as keen on spending money as Peter was. So they have announced that they're looking at these strategic options that could include selling the team. And it's been announced that they are cutting payroll. So, I don't know if any of that had anything to do with how this worked out. But like you mentioned, was Albert Pujols was interviewed. Nick Hundley, who was a catcher, he also interviewed. Um, Ruben Niebla, who was a pitching coach, and bench coach Brian Esposito, all interviewed. But in the end, they stayed in house. And like I said, Craig Stamen, who I remember playing for him not that long ago.
Yeah, it's like 2021, 22,
Yeah,
something like
so
that.
he ends up getting the job, which, what I wonder is if it was having him there, and once again, they're trying to lower their cost, so they get a first time manager. He's very much in the role of like Kurt Suzuki in the fact that he's special assistant, ends up getting that. The other thing I wonder is if they're also playing the game ahead, looking at what's potentially coming with a lockout. Um, if you don't have to pay somebody that much or at all, if they can,
Well,
if
what
they're
if
not
they
under organization.
just switched your role, right? You still get paid the same, but your role is just you get a new title.
Well, there's that.
I mean, he gets a 3-year deal versus the 1 year that Suzuki got, but
Right. Well,
um
but AJ Preller at this point he still has some time on his contract, whereas Perry Manassian
yeah.
has 1 year as well. And as Perry said, we're tied together. So if one doesn't do good, the other one doesn't do good. All right. So the biggest surprise, and there was a couple surprises here, Suzuki, Stamen, but I think the biggest surprise was in San Francisco.
Definitely in San Francisco. So, the new manager in San Francisco, Tony Vitello.
That's right, from the Vitello family. Um,
the big, the
you
the
know,
big thing about this is that he just recently was with his team in Omaha at the College World Series. He was the head coach of the University of Tennessee, the Volunteers. And the Volunteers had gone like a decade without going to the World Series. And Vitello, he turned that program around. They won the College World Series in 2024. And now he's taken over the helm as the Giants manager. And it's it's a big deal because this is like from NCAA to MLB. Still likes the orange, so there's that. Um, but yeah, he was an assistant coach at the University of Missouri, TCU, and University of Arkansas. Outfielders Andrew Benintendi and starting pitchers Max Scherzer, Kyle Gibson, and Garrett Crochet are a few of the players, the major leaguers that Vitello guided at the college level. So
how about Ben Joyce and
Ben Joyce, yeah,
Christian Moore from?
yes, just more recent, but
Mhm.
it's
That's
like
crazy.
it's crazy. So it's gonna be fun. I like him. He's a Giant now, so I'm like, but I like him, and I'm interested to see how it will go.
Well,
Um,
yeah, to go from the first manager to ever go directly from college to the major leagues with no MLB experience.
yeah, none.
It's not like he played and then became a college coach or any of that. He has none, not as a player, not as a
Mm-mm.
coach, not as a scout.
Nothing. All of it is college. 23 seasons coaching in the NCAA, 6 NCAA regional appearances, 3 men's college World Series appearances, 10 first round draft picks produced out of Tennessee, 8 seasons as a coach at Tennessee, 5 NCAA super regional appearances, of course, I mentioned they're the Bulls are the 2024 College World Series champs, and 42 total draft picks since 2021. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how he does. I'm rooting for his success. I know that I'm not rooting for the Giants, don't get me wrong, but I'm rooting for his success in MLB. I mean, I guess of course he can always go back if it doesn't work out because he's
I'm
successful
sure somebody will have him.
in the college world. Other candidates who were linked to the Giants, Nick Hundley, who was a former Giant, the Craig Albanese, who's now going to be the Orioles manager, Mark DeRosa, who is the Team USA manager, and Kirk Suzuki was also in the mix. But ultimately, I think Buster Posey wanted to shake it up and hired Tony.
Right. So that was what he was doing. It's time to shake things up. All right.
So I think that's the biggest. That's why we saved it for last, because that's a big one.
That was and guess what? We just paid off the something that you teased last week.
Finally.
I know it doesn't happen often. We've done it
Doesn't-
twice
Woo.
in this
They
show.
could have parlay bets on
Yeah,
our.
that's it. They could do that. Yeah, back alley betting.
That's right.
That's funny.
Jeff mentioned this.
That's right.
Will he?
And will he pay it off and
That's
win?
right. And
This
win.
episode, next season.
Yeah.
So on some of the prop bets, you might have to wait for a while.
Yeah, it may not be instant payout.
Right. So, all right. So coming up, we got the BBWAA awards. We'll talk about those. But right now, every year there are certain players that are given qualifying offers. And what a qualifying offer is, if we haven't explained it before, or if you've forgotten, or this is the first time you're listening to us. When you get a qualifying offer, it means that you're going to get a 1-year deal worth. It's like the amount of it is based on an average of the overall salaries in MLB. And this year, the 1-year deal is just over $22 million. So teams have to decide whether or not they want to pay somebody $22 million for that 1 year. And the players have to decide whether they want that, or if they want to take a shot to get more years, to get more money. And some players that get the qualifying, the one thing is that if you turn down the qualifying offer and then sign elsewhere, the team that gave you the qualifying offer will get a supplemental draft pick.
Right.
So that also, there's a benefit to the team for doing it. They get draft pick compensation. So there's certain things. There's players, if you've been offered a qualifying offer before, you're out of you can't ever be offered it again. It's a one-time thing. There's a few other ways that the qualifying offers, once you've had it, there's other things that take it out. You have to be with the same team the whole year, I think, and there's a few other things, and there's not, sometimes, teams don't have any qualifying offers. You don't have to extend them. But some teams will. So let's look at, I think there's 13 players this season who receive qualifying offers, and a lot of these names are going to be people that you're not surprised by. Let's start off with Kyle Schwarber. The Phillies have offered him that, of course, after hitting, how many home runs did he hit? 56.
Yeah, a lot.
Career high home runs, RBIs. He had a great year, and is in the running for MVP. But the Phillies feel like, we're happy to pay you the 20. We think that's a $22 million. That's a deal. And if he chooses to go somewhere else, then and that's the thing for the other teams too. They have to think about, do we want to give up a draft pick? Is this person with them? So the Dodgers, when they signed Shohei, said it's definitely worth whatever draft pick we have to give up.
Yeah,
We don't
definitely. Yeah,
care.
that's fine.
Number 2 on the list, somebody we've talked about 2 or 3 times today, Kyle Tucker. And that's another thing. How many teams will be willing to give up a draft pick other than some of these top echelon teams? Dodgers, Yankees, Phillies, maybe even like the Blue Jays, a few others. The Cubs could even go back and re-sign him, and they offered him a qualifying offer.
You also had a Ranger Suarez of the Phillies. The Phillies, his starting pitcher. They extended a qualifying offer to him, and he has a lifetime 1.48 ERA over 42 and 2/3 innings in the postseason. So if you're a team and that's what you're looking for, like looking forward to the postseason, you might look at that. I mean, he did have he has a 3.39 ERA since joining the Phillies in 2021.
And it's considered good as well. So,
Mhm.
so far, we've got guys that probably are worth giving up a draft pick for, potentially.
Potentially. We got Framber Valdez.
Who we talked about earlier as somebody that I would like to see with the Angels, but he's somebody else that you could see. The question will be, is there's still, I see talk about what happened when he was upset. They say he was upset with his catcher and crossed up through a pitch that the catcher wasn't expecting. The team and all involved said, no, that's not the case. But is that something that might be something with Fromber's frame of mind that could stop somebody from doing that? I mean, he's a good fit with the team he's on or has been on.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing too, when you look at these qualifying offers, there's not a whole lot of players that take them. But if you do take it, it's usually you want to stay with that team, and then you can like maybe renegotiate to see if you could get an extension or something. Obviously, their agents are looking to say, well, these are the teams that have expressed interest. And once the team extends the qualifying offer, the players have a certain amount of time to accept it, a deadline. And I think this one is November 18th.
Yeah, I was going to say, next week's show, we should probably have that information.
Should know if anybody took these. Bo Bichette, it's not going to take the qualifying offer. I don't think so. Why would you?
To get a draft pick.
To get a draft pick, right? Dylan Cease of the Padres, talked about him. Trent Grisham of the Yankees.
Which I could see Bo Bichette of the ones that we've talked about, all potentially. Mm-hmm. Dylan Cease, I'm not sure about if I would give up the draft pick.
Right. Well, he's inconsistent.
And Trent Grisham as well. I don't think I'm giving up a draft pick for. No. And if I'm Trent Grisham, I'm probably taking that.
Oh yeah, I think so. And then Gleyber Torres, if he wants to stay with the Tigers, sounds like that's his best option.
Right.
Is the qualifying offer. Edwin Diaz. These are all guys, for the most part, that we have talked about. But Edwin Diaz of the Mets, he didn't receive a qualifying offer the last time he was a free agent at the end of 2022. And then the Mets re-signed him. So we will see where he ends up. And Brandon Woodruff of the Brewers was also given a qualifying offer. Now, one thing with Woodruff is he had a lot of time he has missed a lot of time because of injuries, and he had a shoulder surgery, and then he was not part of postseason for the Brewers because he had a right lat strain, and back in September, and that put him out for the rest of the season. You also have Zach Gallen. Didn't mention him, the starting pitcher for the Diamondbacks. But again, he has been one who, had a 3.29 ERA from like 2019, probably up till 23, 24. And then this past season, he was not the same pitcher that we have seen. And then this guy we've talked about, Shota Imanaga of the Cubs, he was also offered a qualifying offer. The Cubs declined their 3-year, $57 million club option at the end of the 2025 season. I think that was a surprise for me because I thought, why would they do that? Because he's a Cub. Like, he loves being a Cub. I mean, he sang the song, right? When he,
Yep.
he got, yeah. Anyway, so there's that in Chicagoland. Michael King of the Padres, another one who went to full-time starting, but then in 2024, but he's this season he has it's been really rough. I think he missed probably more than half of the season because of injuries.
Right. So a few players that are free agents that did not get qualifying offers, so there's no issue with signing them. Luis Ariz from the Padres, Zach Eflin, pitcher from the Orioles, Lucas Giolito from the Red Sox, Jorge Polanco from the Mariners, and Devin Williams. And we talked about a couple of those guys. Also, recently they said that Lucas Giolito, who was traded for by the Angels and then just didn't have a great rest of the season, is that nobody knew that he was getting divorced, and that caused him to be distracted and pitch poorly with the Angels.
Yeah.
And yet he announced it before even the All-Star break and wasn't traded till the end of the month. So how did the Angels, once again, the Angels messed up? So other guys that could have been gotten them, some of them they didn't qualify for it, and others who have previously received. There's quite a few, so no need to go through all of them. But those are the guys that we're going to be watching for to see if they accept or don't accept, because that does play into what a team might do. So let's get to some awards. Forgot about it for a second there, but the Silver Sluggers. We could take a look.
Yeah, there's a surprise in this Silver Slugger for me, anyway. So I don't know.
All right. Well, why don't we go through? I'll do the American League. You do the National League, and where's your surprise?
The team.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's go and start with the National League.
All right. National League. This surprised me too. First time winner, Pete Alonso.
That's because he's a first timer?
Yeah. That's a surprise to me. 38 home runs this year, 126 RBIs, 41 doubles, and he posted an 871 OPS. That is on base plus slugging. So, yeah, I don't know. That surprised me because he won the home run derby like, how many times?
You would have thought that he would have
Yeah,
won one
maybe one
previously.
at least one.
Right.
Second base, back-to-back winner, Ketel Marte of the Diamondbacks. His OPS was 993, is almost more than 100 points higher than any other National League second baseman.
Wow. I heard
Yeah.
he's asking to be traded. I don't know if that's true or
Oh,
not, but I've heard
I'll have
that
to look at
he
that.
might want out of Arizona.
283 batting average, 28 home runs, 72 RBIs, but it was that OPS that really helped him there. Third base, Manny Machado. This is his third Silver Slugger, and he won last year as well. 275 batting average, 27 home runs, 95 RBIs. I feel like there should have been a better third baseman in the National League, but apparently not. Another Diamondback, this time at shortstop, Geraldo Perdomo is his first time win. He had 20 home runs, 100 RBIs, 136 OPS plus. So OPS, I mentioned, is on base plus slugging. OPS plus compares league average. So when you have a 136 OPS plus, that's good. And then he also had 27 stolen bases. And this is a big deal for him because previous seasons, I mean, he maybe had hit over the last, say 2-3 seasons, he only hit like 14 home runs. So coming up in the world. Outfielder, Silver Slugger Awards in the National League. Juan Soto, this is his sixth. He won last year in the American League and now this year in the National League. And he had 43 home runs, 38 stolen bases. That's a National League leader. 127 walks, which is his MO, and then a 9.92 OPS. And I mean, he's not a good defender at all,
No.
but he needs to just be a designated hitter.
Well, eventually I'm sure he will be, but he's only
Yeah.
26?
Yeah, I know.
So he's
Not,
still young, and that's why that's going
I
to be that.
know.
And he's an MVP candidate. So
True. Corbin Carroll of the Diamondbacks. This
wow.
is his first win. He had his 30-30 season, 31 home runs, and 32 stolen bases. And he was the National League leader in triples. He had 17. This is his third season being the leader in triples. And Kyle Tucker. This is his second. That'll round out the outfield. Kyle Tucker, this is his second. Even though he had some injuries this season, he was still able to hit 20 home runs and still 20 bases. And he had a slash line 266, 377, and 464. So batting average, on base percentage, and slugging percentage. Catcher, this is something good for the Rockies. Hunter Goodman, it's his first win. He had 31 home runs, 91 RBIs, 281 total bases, and had a .843 OPS. The designated hitter could only be Shohei Ohtani, 55 home runs, 20 stolen bases. Not the, he kind of was a slacker this year. Come on.
Well, you gotta give it to him. He was pitching or setting up to pitch.
Exactly. He had an MLB high 146 runs scored, and he is the National League leader in slugging, OPS, and total bases. And utility player, Silver Slugger, Alec Burleson of the Cardinals. It's his first win. Had a 290 batting average, hit 18 home runs, 69 RBIs, and an 801 OPS. And this one, it surprised me. I know they won last year, but they did it again, back to back. The Dodgers win the team Silver Slugger. They had 825 runs, 244 home runs, 580 walks. That a lot of those courtesy of managers walking Shohei. A .768 OPS and 2,415 total bases.
Wow. Yeah, I guess when you're watching game to game, it doesn't always feel like
No.
they're doing that well. But when you compile it all,
You're like, wow, can't
that's
believe
not.
it.
Of course they won.
Back to back.
Of course they won. All right, let's take a look at the American League, and we're going to start up first at first base. Rookie of the Year candidate, Nick Kurtz gets obviously he's a rookie, so he gets his first one. Great year, 290 batting average, 36 home runs, 86 RBIs, and over 1,000 OPS in just 117 games. So we'll see if he can keep that up, but it's definitely a good start. Plus, he had that 4 home run game. He may not be much of a home run derby guy, but he does have a Silver Slugger award, and that's Jazz Chisholm Jr., who picks up his very first one. And he is, along with quite a few other Yankee second basemen, to get his. He joins DJ LeMahieu, Robinson Cano, Alfonso Soriano, and Willie Randolph. Had a 30-30 season, his first, 31 homers to go with the 31 stolen bases. So he was right on it, 31-31. Third base for the 6th time. No surprise here. The preeminent third baseman, I think, in all of Major League Baseball, Jose Ramirez. And he's got back-to-back Silver Sluggers, picking it up also for the second time he's done that. He did it in 17 and 18 as well. 30 homers and 44 steals to power through this season. Only Wade Boggs has more with 8. Mike Schmidt is who he just tied with 6 Silver Sluggers as third basemen go. With another back-to-back win in the Silver Sluggers, Bobby Witt Jr. gets his second one, and yet another great season for him. 23 home runs, a .295 batting average, 38 stolen bases, and he joins his teammate Salvador Perez, and of course Royals legends George Brett and Willie Wilson as the only Royals to ever win multiple Silver Slugger awards. First outfielder is no surprise with his 5th win, MVP candidate Aaron Judge. Does that for the Yankees. And honestly, nobody really hit better. He's the first player to ever win the batting title and hit over 50 home runs. 331 with 53 homers, 114 RBIs, and a 1.144 OPS. His OPS plus was over 200. Pretty incredible. And no wonder he's in the running for an MVP, which we will be announcing shortly. For the first time, because he finally played enough to get one, Byron Buxton gets, and I would think he would have more, if he wasn't injured all the time. That's what's really, because he's just never been healthy enough to contend. A career high 542 plate appearances. He slugged at 551 with an 878 OPS. 35 homers and 24 stolen bases. Another guy who, had he had a complete season, might have looked like a MVP candidate. He started off looking like it, but kind of faded off, and that's in Riley Green, who gets his first Silver Slugger. Second time All-Star this season. He's only 24, so who knows how many more Silver Sluggers he might have in him. 111 RBIs this season, 36 home runs. Like I said, walking away with his first. Catcher, the big dumper, picks this one up and is an MVP candidate, and a lot of talk about whether it's him or Judge who's going to walk away with this this deal or with the award. He gets the catcher Silver Slugger, and we know 60 home runs, 125 RBIs, and he did it while catching 120 games and trying to hit in a very non-hitter's ballpark in Seattle. Designated hitter goes to George Springer for the third time. Picks this up in his fifth season as a Blue Jay. And it looked like he was ready to fall off a couple of seasons ago, but he's turned things around. And the only hitter that's been better in most categories than George Springer overall, Aaron Judge. So, utility player. I'm happy to see this guy. His first win, former Dodger. And he's 30 years old. He finally had a great breakout season. It's Zach McKinstry of the Tigers, a 33rd round draft pick back in 2016, and then went to the Cubs and then found himself with the Tigers and just put it all together. 113 OPS plus. He just had 12 home runs, 23 doubles, and 11 triples, stole 19 bases, and just was able to maintain all these numbers while playing at second, third, short, and both right and left field. And the second win for the team of the year. Not really a surprise when Aaron Judge is on your team that leads all of baseball, and he's got better stats than some teams do from top to bottom. They scored 849 runs, the most in the majors, 51 more than any other AL team. They also had 274 home runs, the most in the AL. Slugging, OPS, and total bases all were led by the Yankees. And overall, you had 7 Yankees hit more than 20 home runs. 6 of the regulars slugged at least 460 with an OPS above 810. All right, it's time to get the big awards into the season awards. So normally during Around Baseball, we do the Player of the Week or we do Players of the Month. Now we got the Players of the Season for the most part. We're going to get to the Big Four awards, and then next week we'll talk about the All MLB team, the Hank Aaron Award, the Comeback Player of the Year, the reliever awards, the Mariano Rivera and Trevor Hoffman reliever awards. And then the Edgar Martinez Award, and a couple of others that will be announced next week, or they'll be announced after the main awards are. But we'll get to those next week. So let's start with these. So we're going to give you the BBWAA award winners and the IBWAA award winners. And we'll do them like in the same order. We'll start with Rookie of the Year, Manager, Cy Young, and then the MVP. All right. So Rookies of the Year, the Jackie Robinson Rookie of the Year Award in the National League goes to
Drake Baldwin of the Atlanta Braves was the Rookie of the Year for the National League, as well as for the IBWAA, the Internet Baseball Writers of America Association.
And then for the American League, it is guy we just talked about, Nick Kurtz of the A's. walks away with his first to go with that Silver Slugger award. And the last time that they had one, especially in a unanimous vote, Mark McGwire, way back in 1987. All right. Next up, who are our managers of the year?
For
And
the national,
before we say this, let's just note that all three of the National League managers lost,
to Dave Roberts,
who wasn't even nominated,
I know,
and
he was amazing.
and
He's amazing.
John Schneider in the American League was also nominated for Manager of the Year. And I get it, worst to first, and
Yeah.
a trip to the World Series, but Dave beat all four of them
That's right.
in the playoffs.
In the playoffs. In the National League, just an average Joe, Pat Murphy of the Milwaukee Brewers.
And wasn't this his? Didn't he win this last year as well?
I think so.
So
probably.
yeah, he was. He was last year's Manager of the Year as well.
Nobody knows my name. Nobody knows.
Just a bunch of average Joes. We don't even have a very good team.
That's it. But
always me.
He is the He is the Baseball Writers Association of America choice, as well as the IBWAA choice.
And Nick Kurtz was the IBWAA as well, right? I didn't mention that.
That was the same. So
I don't have the IBWAA in front of me, so
yeah.
So you can correct me on that if I'm wrong.
I will.
I know you will. Yeah. American League is another back-to-back manager, and that would be Stephen Vogt of the Guardians.
Who placed a bet on that?
Emmanuel Clase.
That is not the same. John Schneider was the pick for the IBWAA.
Right. Yep. But, the Guardians came from nowhere.
They did.
The Blue Jays were consistent all season. The Guardians were out of it.
And this is his second season?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Second season as a manager. He's one of those that was a rookie manager last year.
Right.
He only came in he had just a couple of years removed as a player. So, congratulations to those guys. Let's take a look. Now, see, there was a surprise. None of these have really been a surprise. And I think that the Cy Young's not going to really be a surprise either.
No.
And this one is if it was anybody else, even though we all believe Yoshi was a good pick for this, Yoshi was still number 3 in the overall voting. Because who won?
Paul Skeens. I mean, Skeens, who else but Mr. Pirate? No. I'm sure he doesn't want to be called that. But yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much knew mid-season he was going to be the Cy Young Award winner.
Yeah, it was going to take a big fall off for him not to be.
And IBWAA members, I'm sure you and I included, also chose Paul Skeens as the.
Actually, I put him number 2 and put Yoshi 1 because I knew just to give him some points.
Yeah, I probably put Yoshi second. I think Yoshi. If he had better, he had so many no decisions and during the season.
Yeah, but that wasn't his fault.
I know, because of offense. Who won the Silver Slugger Award?
Right, that won the doesn't that seem off?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
All right, another non-surprise, and doing it for the second straight season I'm pretty sure the IBWAA agreed with this. Tarek Skubal gets the AL Cy Young Award. Tarek Skubal gave up 2 home runs in one game to Zach Neto this season and still won the AL Cy Young, except for the second time. He's the 23rd pitcher to win multiple Cy Young Awards. He's got a ways to go, though, if he's going to match up with the most ever, which was Roger Clemens, who won 7 times. Randy Johnson got it 5. He should set his sights more on Steve Carlton or Greg Maddux, who both won it 4 times. All right. And then finally for this episode, the last award of the award season as far as the big awards go. One of them I think was a given. We probably could have announced this one without ever actually seeing that it happened.
Yeah.
The other one, there was a chance that it could go one or two different ways, and that's the AL race. So why don't you just give us the, we knew that was coming news on the NL MVP?
There could be no other but Shohei Ohtani is the MVP for the 4th time in 5 seasons. It is a unanimous vote for the 3rd time
In a row.
Right? He and Joe Morgan are the only players who have won an MVP and a World Series in back-to-back seasons, 1975, 1976 for Joe Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
He is the 4th player to win an MVP and a World Series in a season multiple times, joining Joe Morgan, Joe DiMaggio, and Mickey Mantle. And MVP award and a World Series or a League Championship Series MVP, which he won in the same season. He joins Josh Hamilton, Mike Schmidt, Willie Stargell, Reggie Jackson, Frank Robinson, and Sandy Koufax.
Awesome. Yeah, no surprise there. He absolutely deserves it, and of course he's now, he and Frank Robinson are the only two to have won in different leagues, and he's outpassed Frank Robinson by having 2 in each league, and potentially in seasons to come, if he wins any more, he's got 4 so far. He needs 3 more to tie Barry Bonds with the most ever. But he will then have surpassed, he'll only have 2 in the American League, but who knows how many. And as long as he can pitch at a high level and hit like he's been hitting, he's going to be hard to beat year in and year out. All right. So, and who is going to take home the AL? Lots of conversations about this. Listening to MLB radio, reading columns, more so than any conversation about the National League. The American League was tight because even though Aaron Judge was by far the best hitter in baseball, period, hitting for average, hitting high, a large number of home runs and all that, it's Cal Raleigh did something that really surprised people. Being a catcher, like we said, catching 120 games from an all-around standpoint, it's hard to not vote for Cal Raleigh, I think.
Yeah, I never thought that there was even that there was a discussion to be had.
Well, there was, because Aaron Judge's offensive year was so far above and beyond anybody else that it was hard to ignore that. And the voters agreed, even though It was close, 17-13 in first place votes. Aaron Judge gets his second in a row and his third AL MVP. Do you know why he's got it 2 times in a row?
I don't know.
Because Shohei's not in the American League anymore.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I should have known that. Duh.
Right. And this is the closest MVP race since 2019 when Mike Trout went over Alex Bregman by the same margin. So there you go. Huge, win for Aaron Judge over Cal Raleigh. But Cal Raleigh should walk away knowing that, he, if it wasn't for the fact that 331, 53 home runs, a 215 or 218 OPS plus.
Yeah.
I think if Cal Raleigh had hit like 280, 290, he only hit 244.
Yeah.
And
but he's
had
a catcher.
And he only had a 160 OPS plus only. How many players would be happy to have that?
Right.
If he'd have had a closer, if he'd have been like 190, maybe. But that's what offense rules more than any defense. And,
yeah.
I mean, there's an argument to be made here, just like you could make an argument on any of the awards. But Aaron Judge walks away with it, and you can't really say he didn't deserve it. All right, that'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. We will be back next week for a few of these other awards that we're just waiting on to be announced. And there's no reason to overload all the awards in one. And we'll see if our end of the season tradition holds true. We're just waiting to hear back about that. And so hopefully we'll get that, and of course we'll talk whatever baseball there is to talk, and of course those other awards that we talked about that we'll get to next episode. So remember, you can always find us and comment on the show or give us your opinions on things. Tell us we're stupid, whatever. We don't care. We've been called many names now, so telling us we're stupid really doesn't mean anything.
That's pretty mild.
Compared to just because we said we invented baseball at a racetrack.
I never knew that race car fans.
NASCAR. That's nasty.
Nasty NASCAR.
Mean. Anyway, you can do that by hitting us up on our Twitter or our Blue Sky at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A.
And on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB with the A.
Our website is siblingrivalrybb.com. And you can hit the Fanatics links. We got 2 of them on there, but you can get anything from any sport that, whether it's, football, basketball, hockey, college, and of course, all the baseball gear, including World Series gear, World Series champions gear, and you can even get, you can even be like Jana and get one that says Yamamoto 18 on the back.
Yeah.
All right. So until next week, like I said, we got a lot more for you on what is the finale of the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. We hope to see you there. And in the meantime, don't forget to swing away.